Welcome to Lunchtime with Liz. Here's the card I'll be creating today. Check it out. I love the texture in that. So here we go. Let's go. All right. So what I'm going to be using today, artistically inked stamp set. This is not a new stamp set. It is in the annual catalog. Beautiful. Okay. And I'm going to be using a window sheet. These are sold in the annual catalog, window sheet. This is I always call it the wrong thing, a water painter. I call it a painter brush, but it is called a water painter in the annual catalog, and these come in a pack of 3 in 3 different sizes. I will be using watercolor paper, and I have come to realize that watercolor paper is not the same all around, so I tried to use just some watercolor paper I had on hand from past kids crafting just to see how it would work. It wasn't so good. So this is watercolor paper. It is in the Stampin' Up! Catalog, and that's it. We're going to be using that. So, and then the ink color, I'll be using one ink pad, which is Flirty Flamingo. And I'll be using 2 refills. I have customers ask me about when to buy refills. So first off, you would need them if your ink pad gets dry. You can open this up and you can take a refill and you can squeeze that and fill that back up rather than buying a new ink pad. It's much less expensive to refill it than to buy a new ink pad. Okay, but we're also going to use it for something else today. So the 2 ink colors I'm using are So Saffron and Flirty Flamingo. And I'll have dimensionals also. Okay, so those are all the supplies. Let me show you your measurements. You'll need 1 piece of white cardstock. This is a half sheet of 8.5 by 11, cut at 5.5 inches. We'll need 1 piece of So Saffron cardstock, 4 by 5.25 inches. 1 piece of watercolor paper. This is the watercolor paper. It's 3 3/4 inches by 5. I have 1 piece of basic white cardstock that is 1 inch by 1.5 inch. And then I have 1 piece of So Saffron, which is 1 1/4 inch by 1 3/4 inches. Okay. So, oh, one other thing I will be using a heat tool. Okay. And that is also sold in the catalog. All right. So let's get started. I'm going to grab my window sheet. The window sheet, you put it down and you can't find it because it's clear, okay? So, all right, let's put this down. Just know that's here. You may or may not see that. I think you can see it in the shine. Okay. So we want to do this very lightly. A little bit goes a long way. This is super concentrated ink. So I'm just putting dots of the So Saffron. That's it. I actually want to spread them out just a little bit. Okay. And then I'm just going to do, the pink is a little bit darker and I just want a little bit of that. So I'm just going to add just a couple dots of pink. And pulling in the paintbrush, you can squeeze on the side and water will just drip out. So I'm going to let that just drip a little bit first. I want this really wet. Okay, so I got it pretty wet. And I'm going to just swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Kind of going over the yellow, not so much the pink yet. You can kind of see where the pink is. And then I'll do a little pink. They're going to naturally blend together, but you don't really want to like rub them all together, or you're going to end up with not pink and not yellow. Okay? So real wet. I'm just going to blop all around. Okay, set that aside. And then I'm taking my watercolor piece of paper, it doesn't matter either side, and we're going to lay that on top and we're going to smoosh. Okay? So for a lack of a better term, this is the smooshing technique, I guess. So we're going to rub that in there, let that absorb. And you want to get it all the way to your edges. If it doesn't get to your edge, it's okay. We can fix that, but you want to try and get it to go to your edges. And pull that up. Look at this. And I got a little white spot there. So I'm just going to stick it back in there and let that go. Okay? So I'm going to take this and move this aside. And when I'm done with this, then I'll just run it under the faucet, let it run clear, and you can reuse it lots of times. Change up your ink colors, do something different. You could take this and just let this dry somewhere on its own. But most of us, we don't really have the patience for that. And for this video, I'm not going to take that time to let it dry. So bear with me for a minute. I'm going to use the heat gun, and we're going to dry this up. This is the same heat gun that you would use if you're going to do some embossing. My husband has actually bought a Stampin' Up! Heat gun to use for his work too. So that's kind of fun. My family has definitely realized I have some useful tools in my supplies that are not just for card making. Okay, so I don't want this to be soggy. I'm going to dry that up so it's not dripping anywhere. And each one you do is going to come out different, obviously. You're never going to get two that look exactly the same. Try different colors. Just know a little ink, a little bit goes a long way. And especially if you're using a dark color, you want like a drop, maybe two of a dark color, and a lot more drops with the lighter colors. Because you'll notice I did a lot of yellow drops and I did two of the pink. And look at all that pink that's still on there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to now, that's great. And you could just leave it like that. I want more texture to it. You know what this is that's getting on here? My nails. I've noticed when I use a dark color of nail polish, sometimes when I'm working, it will come off on my projects. But it's okay. We're going to work around that. So you could leave it like this. I just want to add more texture to what I'm doing. So I'm going to take these Post-it notes and I'm going to lay them right here. Okay, so right across that. And then from this stamp set, Artistically Inked, I'm using this. It's like a watercolor look. It's really kind of cool. This is one of the distinctive stamps. And what I mean by distinctive stamps, in the catalog, you'll see some of them will say underneath distinctive stamp. It just means there's some areas that are lighter and darker. The shading has already been provided for you in the way the stamp has been made. So you're not going to get a solid image of that. It's more of a watercolor look. So I'm going to take this in the pink. This is the Flirty Flamingo. We're going to ink that. Okay, and I'm going to rotate it. I had it this way, now I'm going to turn it this way. And this is going to give a great background. Move it around a little bit. I'm going to get in here. Okay, set that aside. Let's pull these off. Okay, look at that texture. It's all one layer, but lots of texture. What do you think? Is that neat? Okay, let me go ahead and I'm going to stamp my words. This again, my words hello is from that same stamp set, Artistically Inked. So let's stamp hello on there. Who are you sending a card out to this week, guys? I'm always challenging you. Send cards, send cards, send cards. I think they're important. I really do. I think it makes you smile when it comes in the mailbox. I think it's good for you, for me, to actually take the time for the gratitude and just thinking of others. It helps for me, I will say personally, it helps me not to, let's say, wallow sometimes in our own things that aren't going the way we like sometimes, right? Sometimes that happens. Okay. So it's good for the person sending the card. It's good for the person receiving the card. I'm going to take that, and I'm putting dimensionals on the back. I'll put that right there. Okay, let's flip this over. The back's a little messy, but it doesn't matter. That's your back. Eyeball that up, and we'll flip it over and press on the back. That way you don't get any nail polish stuff on your card. Let's do our card base with the white. I do have a bone folder to get a nice crease. Make sure you have the opening going the right way so you're not adhering your card upside down. Been there, done that, right? Flip it over, and that's where I always press on the back. And there we have it. That didn't take too much time, right? That wasn't too bad. And look at the texture you got in that. I love that. And again, this background is going to come out different no matter how many times you do it. You're going to have a different background. Try different colors. Just remember, a little ink goes a long way. And that's it. Give it a try, and I would love to see what you come up with. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye, guys.